Hello and welcome to the Horror Homestead. My name is GiBi, I'm here with Toto, and we're going to be answering some questions in the FNAF Weekly Community Update. We're going to be doing a couple other things too, but questions is part one. We're going to start with this incredible comment by Dusksane. Dusksane. This is an Easter egg lore bit thing I didn't even notice in the week before. So in the week before, it mentions that Ralph gets a pizza named after him. It's called the Ralph, which is funny because Ralph is another name for throwing up, and all the toppings on it are disgusting. And so the book says that the Ralph only lasted 4 days. Just like how Ralph the phone guy only lasts until night 4 in the original FNAF. Ralph only lasts 4 days. That's amazing. I love that. And I didn't catch it. None of the other Easter egg videos I watched about the week before caught it. So, Dusksane, great comment. 10 out of 10. A few days ago, ID's Fantasy put out a video about Candy Cadet stories. I put out a video reacting to it, and we agreed 99% on what the stories mean, what they symbolize, what they're about, etc. One of the stories is about a boy who finds a box of 5 baby kittens. It specifies baby kittens. He also has a snake. The snake is red and lives in a metal cage. The snake is baby, probably. He has to feed the snake, but he doesn't want to feed it any of the kittens, so he just kind of lets it out of its cage. It picks a kitten and eats it. 5 nights go by where the boy is all sad about the fact that the snake ate one of the kittens, and so he cuts the snake open and reassembles the kitten. My interpretation is that the snake is baby. Again, it is red, it is in a metal cage, it is let out, it kills a child at random. The person who let it out is then upset that this happens, and puts the child back together. The child being Elizabeth. In my understanding of the story, the kid is Michael, because he's the one who puts Elizabeth back together. That's what he says at the end of Sister Location. There's some weird stuff about this, because obviously Mike is not the one who let the snake out of the cage. Mike is not the one who set baby on the children. Unless he is. Unless we're supposed to take from this that Mike was working with William at the time, and was part of the plan to sick baby on kids and grab them. That would be a huge departure from how we understood the story in Sister Location, and so it's kind of weird, it's kind of a leap, but also if we're taking the story at like 100% allegory, that's what it is saying. My conclusion is to not take the story at 100% allegory, but it's whatever. It's a valid interpretation is what I'm saying. One of my commenters asks, I feel dumb about asking this, but why isn't the cat and snake story about Henry as the child and William as the snake? So in this circumstance, we have the child who has the snake, the way that Henry was friends with William and could possibly have actually been his boss at one point, and he let him go. And then the killer killed one kid, and then Henry felt guilty about this, and then... So in this story, the snake only kills 1 kid out of 5, which is not what happens in the MCI. In this story, the boy cuts open and kills the snake in order to save the child, which is also not what happens in the MCI. Like, William is killed via himself in the Springlock suit, and then later is burned to death by Henry, which happens after the Candy Cadet story is told. There would be 5 victims, not just one kid. What's important about that story is that there's 5 kittens, but only one of them dies, so that's not really symbolic of the MCI. It also specifies that 5 nights pass, which seems to imply that the character that the boy is one of the protagonists of the games, because 5 Nights at Freddy's is a thing. And I personally find it very suspicious that the snake is red in a metal cage, and that the kittens keep being referred to as baby kittens, when kitten is just a baby cat. You don't gotta say baby kitten unless you want to use the word baby. So for me, there's just way too much evidence to think that the boy is anyone besides William or Mike, and I lean Mike. Also, in response to me and ID's Fantasies videos, we have Richard Nixon, the president, saying, I love you guys and your theories, but you keep trying to put Sister Location super early in the timeline. This is true. I place Sister Location as the earliest game in the timeline. I think FNAF 4, the backstory, the mini-games, happens in 1983. Then I think Sister Location happens the week before FNAF 2 happens, so those are kind of coinciding with each other. And then FNAF 1, and then the rest of the story that everyone agrees with. So I put Sister Location very early in the timeline. But Richard Nixon says, super early in the timeline to explain Mike's stench. I do not put it early in the timeline to explain Mike's stench. The idea is that at the end of Sister Location, Mike gets scooped and becomes a rotting flesh zombie, and so therefore he is a rotting flesh zombie throughout FNAF 2 through FNAF 1, Pizza Sim, etc. 3. And so that the reason that he gets fired for odor in FNAF 2 and FNAF 1 is because he smells bad because he's a rotting corpse. I actually do not believe this. I specifically do not believe this. I think that Remnant heals people. It is stated multiple times throughout different continuities that Remnant heals people. The scoop always has more Remnant on the scoop. That's what the blueprint says in Pizza Sim. There's always Remnant left on the scoop, and so Mike's been injected with Remnant, and so theoretically his body should heal. I do not think that Mike is a zombie man, after the events of Sister Location. I think he heals from this. So me putting Sister Location early in the timeline has nothing to do with Mike being a stinky boy. Mike is just a stinky boy. He doesn't shower, he tampers with the animatronics, that's why he reeks. Sister Location comes after the first couple of minigames in FNAF 3. So that is a theory that a lot of people have, I just strongly disagree with it. I don't think there's enough time for William to have harvested the Remnant from the animatronics after Follow Me in FNAF 3, to then take them back to build the fun times for them to become possessed, and then for Sister Location to happen during that time period. It also wouldn't make sense then for Mike to do FNAF 2 if he's Fritz. He points out that the FNAF 3 in-between night games don't need to take place in the span of a week, it's just how it's shown to us. So it's true, again, the mini-games are always very interpretive, they're very symbolic, they're not literal. They're very not literal. And so yes, it's obviously possible that the FNAF 3 Follow Me minigames do not take place on the same night or the span of a week as is implied in the game, and so that could be when William takes the Remnant, it's just not what I believe. But no, my belief has nothing to do with Mike being a stinky boy. 411 means information. Do you not remember the scene in Mean Girls when Regina's mom asked the girls, "What's the 411? What's everyone talking about?" This is in reference to my video about Fetch, where they're talking via text message, and Fetch always talks in, like, acronyms and gamer speak, and he says 411 at one point. I speculate whether 411 is Leet speak for the word all, whether it's a reference to the number for information, 411, or if it's maybe an angel number 411. 411 is shorthand for information. Calling 411 was called calling information. Cool TV teenagers would say, "What's the 411?" to mean what's happening or give me details. So 411 is shorthand for information. Guys, I know, I say that in the video. I looked into other possible interpretations of 411. It used to be a directory that you could call, like the local white pages. Like, I say I don't know what 411 means and give possible interpretations, and one of the possible interpretations is the number for information. I say that. I don't know why people are saying, oh, it's the number for information. I know. Meanwhile, I did lay a trap in the video. I bring up Brigadoon and say, I don't know what that is. Maybe you can leave an answer in the comments for what you think Brigadoon is. And then a couple minutes later, I'm like, haha, I fooled you. I do know what Brigadoon is. And only one person fell for it. Only Taylor Robin fell for it. Brigadoon is probably referring to the movie about a village that appears for one day before disappearing again for 100 years. Edit. If I had waited like 2 minutes, I would have realized you literally go over the entire film, GG. Only one person fell for Brigadoon, but a bunch of people are telling me information I say in the video. I don't get it. A piece of evidence I discovered recently is that in Toy Chica's high school years, when Chica is talking about how she's gonna get all the cute little boys, it's actually very likely that this is the kill order that William killed the people in. Before the show even starts, Foxy's hook is in Chica's bag, and she's talking about how her date from the previous day didn't go well. We then see her plot to get Freddy, the Wolf, Toy Bonnie, Mangled, Puppet, and Pig Patch. There's almost certainly no correlation between these characters and the murders. The way that most people explain it is that the first one is Charlie before the others, and that the other 6 are the MCI 5, and then maybe there's room in here for Andrew if he is game canon? What if this is actually showing us the order of the killings? What if the Foxy hook, the first death before any of the others, is supposed to symbolize Dave's death? It's not clumped in with these 6 because William didn't murder him. That would make the first murder we see depicted in the series Charlie. Chica says this.
I told him that I needed help with my homework, but once he's there, I'll have him.
Which has always been weird because she says that she needs help with her homework, and then once he's there, well, where is there? Her house? The library? The homework part is obviously part of the set dressing because this is Toy Chica's high school years. But if you take that part out, all William is saying is that once he's there, he can get her. And if there is Freddy's, well, that's exactly what happens. Once she's there, he can get her. The next victim is the one with the dead dog, which we know is Susie. Most people assume that Susie was the first MCI victim because she was the first and she saw everything. And if so far these characters have lined up as Dave, Charlie, and now Susie, that does fit most people's timelines for the MCI murders. And so my theory is that that order is the order that the kids were killed in. Okay, the problem is you trying to argue that the Chica's high school years order is that in that, the puppet is killed 6th in the episode order, so even then Charlie is still killed after the MCI. So I want to clarify, when I say the order of the people killed, I do not mean the animatronic within the episode that stands for that person. I don't mean that Pig Patch is the last person to die. I mean that the way that Toy Chica explains how they're going to kill the person is the order. So yes, the puppet is one of the characters in that cutscene. The puppet being there does not correlate to Charlie in any way, the same way that the Freddy in those cutscenes doesn't correlate to Freddy. The same way that the pig patch doesn't correlate to pig patch. The same way that the wolf character that isn't a real character doesn't correlate to anyone. The person depicted in those cutscenes has nothing to do with the person I'm talking about. I'm talking about the order in which she kills the people is corresponding with the order in which she kills the real children. So the fact that one of them is a puppet has nothing to do with anything. There's something uncanny about the dog in the background. I can't tell if it's a physical object or not. The creepiest part is the CGI ? Dog head in the background. I was watching this at 4 AM when I noticed the dog in the background. I freaked out, thought I was imagining it. That dog is freaking me out. What's with the red dog? This is Clifford the big red dog's head. Obviously you guys aren't caught up to date on GiBi lore. You don't watch my other channel. He features very heavily in my video about collecting things. He's been a background prop in my videos literally for years, like 3 years at this point. And he has a speaking role in one of my more recent Absurds episode videos. Yes, it's a physical object. This is not CGI. It's a cardboard cutout of Clifford's head from that live-action Clifford movie from a couple years ago. And I worked at a movie theater when that movie came out, and so I took this home, and it's been in the background of my set for years and years and years. It wasn't in some of my earlier videos because it was literally like tucked against this wall, but now I keep it in the back because I had it out to film that video that went up a couple weeks ago. So yes, he's real. I did not CGI a dog behind me that like I would have to keep rotoscoping my chair moving in front of him. No, he's a real dog. He's Clifford the big red dog's head. He has a Brooklyn accent. All right, now we're going to do the community update part of the video. Today is Wednesday, which means it's after the update to Help Wanted. But when I'm filming this, it's not Wednesday yet, so I don't know what happens in that. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions about it that I physically cannot answer because that's how time works. So next week's episode is going to be all about the Help Wanted 2 update and like the Tiger Rock plush and stuff like that. So we're going to keep this to the pre-Tiger Rock plush reveal era of life. So I want to shout out the Unwithered Truth video is Into the Pit canon. It's a great video going over the evidence as to whether or not the game is canon to the books, the game is canon to the games. It comes to a conclusion that I basically agree with, which is no. And it also goes over the evidence as to why they think certain things are Easter eggs, certain things aren't, what the cut content has to do with. It's a great video. It lays out stuff better than I feel like I could and came to conclusions that I agree with while using evidence that I myself didn't even discover. So 100% recommend the video Into the Pit, Is It Canon? FNAF Discussion / Theory by the Unwithered Truth. It'll be linked in the description. Second, I want to talk about FNAF ology. This is a smaller channel. They only have about 500 subscribers right now. I'm the 515th subscriber. 2 great videos. The first about Ralph working at Fredbear's, going over the timeline in the week before and how it's kind of inconsistent, but it does work if he was at Fredbear's, and their evidence is basically like, oh, Ralph doesn't know what Fredbear's is in FNAF 2, but he also has memory problems, so maybe that would explain the retcon inconsistency. Good video. But the better video is what happened to the DCI. 20-minute video laying out the DCI and the timeline in FNAF 2. It's very factual. I like the way the story is laid out. I don't agree with the conclusion. You guys should know by now my conclusion on the DCI is that it didn't really happen. The only person who died there was Cassidy. I have a whole video about that. DCI. So while I don't agree with the conclusion or the theory, the way the evidence is laid out is phenomenal, and I think that'll give people who haven't really dug into the timeline the way that YouTube FNAF theorists have a better understanding of the series of events that happened in FNAF 2, right? Because you're hearing these phone calls about stuff that happened a week ago that progress as the phone calls happen, but then stuff's also happening in real time. It's very confusing. FNAF 2 is one of the more confusing games, actually, as far as the lore goes. So I highly recommend What Happened to the DCI, and also subscribing to FNAFology, because I'm sure that Shuri's going to put out even better videos in the future. But how could I end this video with anything other than the greatest FNAF video of 2024? Better than anything I put out. Better than MatPat's final video. Better, I dare say, than Hyperdroid's 24-hour FNAF video. The best FNAF video of this entire year has to be Jackie's Box FNAF Mimic Song. If you somehow haven't seen this yet, if you haven't seen the memes, it's literally, this is broken out of the FNAF community. I've seen normies reposting this and tweeting this and posting it on Instagram. This song currently has 330,000 views. When I watched it, it was like 100,000. So in the last, it's getting like 100,000 views a day, basically. And I'm linking in the description, top link. It's just the greatest, the best FNAF video there is. I think this is something that the community and YouTubers are going to be quoting probably for years to come. I know that when Secret of the Mimic comes out, if I play it as a Let's Play thing, this is probably going to be in my head the entire time. I'm probably going to be brain rotted quoting this song. I've literally listened to this every day since I've discovered it. It's the best FNAF video of the year. Jackie's Box, FNAF Mimic Song by Extra Tuna, linked in the description. I will say, there's strong foul language in the video. So if you like my channel, because I keep it clean and I don't curse, this one does have strong language in it. And that's the FNAF community update. Next week, I'm sure it's going to be a doozy. I just hit the microphone. I apologize. Next week, I'm sure it's going to be a doozy because of all the stuff coming out in Help Wanted 2 with the update and the Tiger Rock and the Mimic, etc. So I'm sure next week will be a longer episode, but thank you for watching. Be sure to be nice to each other in the comments. Consider supporting the creators you admire. Never lose sight of the things that are important to you. And remember that Freddy's stands for Friendly, Respectful Engagement, Discussion, Discourse Yields Success. Help Wanted 2 update isn't even out yet, and people are already forgetting what Freddy stands for. I've seen a lot of bad discourse online, people being rude, people being mean to each other. It's the Scare Bear game. It doesn't matter if you think Tails Games is confirmed and someone else doesn't and you're arguing about it. Just don't. Just touch grass. You can be happy if you think it's confirmed. You can be happy if the update comes out and is deconfirmed. The important thing is that you don't be mean to each other because it's a video game. The only time it's okay to be mean in a video game is when you die in Counter-Strike and you need to blame the game as opposed to blaming your lack of skills. I'll see you next Sunday.